What is a Bluecap? Why are they associated with mines and the underground? And how are they different from their border cousins, the Redcaps? Hi everybody, I'm Nick and this is Beasts of the Old World, a channel that explores ancient folklore and mythical creatures from across the globe. If you're fascinated by the mysterious and the unseen, then make sure to subscribe and ring the bell. The Bluecap is a spectral being deeply rooted in the folklore of the Anglo-Scottish Borderlands. A spirit of the mines appearing as a small ghostly blue flame, the Bluecap, unlike many of its mischievous cousins, isn't the type of spirit to haunt or to harm. Instead, it is said to be a most industrious spirit, one that works hard for fair pay, guiding and protecting those brave enough to venture deep underground. At one time, far in the past, miners all over the British Isles considered Bluecaps, and other spirits like them, to be their protectors, spirits that would guide them to safety, warn them of impending danger, and, on lucky days, even lead them to veins of precious ore. But why would a spirit want to help? What does a being like this gain by lingering in the depths, guiding miners from harm and helping with the labour? The answer to these questions lies in the unique bond that Bluecaps share with the mining community. The Bluecap was known to be a hard worker. Indeed, the few surviving references of these spirits claim that it was frequently reported to have been seen moving whole carts of coal along the tracks. The spirit did not work for free, however. They would demand a reasonable wage comparable to that of other miners. To satisfy them, miners would leave small offerings in secluded corners of the mine, convinced that without their gift, the Bluecap might abandon them. As this could put them at risk of accidents, cave-ins and fire damp, miners once believed that the Bluecap's guidance and protection was worth every penny. Indeed, it was frequently said that if they were to check the spaces where the offerings had been made, they would find the coins had been taken, apparently by the Bluecap, but only if the correct wage had been left for them. The hard-working Bluecap, you see, was also an honest spirit, for in their wages they would take no more than was owed and would take no less either. If too much money had been left for them, then some coins would remain. If not enough, well then the Bluecap would leave the coins where they lay. Miners understood very well that a mistreated Bluecap could be every bit as mischievous as its contemporaries, or else it might abandon the mine, leaving the miners to work in the dangerous environment alone, without any additional security. In A Dictionary of Fairies, Catherine Briggs confirms this in a report of Bluecaps from 1863.
Sometimes the miners would perceive a light blue flame flicker through the air and settle on a full coal tub, which immediately moved towards the roadway as though impelled by the sturdiest sinews in the working. Industrious Bluecap required, and rightly, to be paid for his services, which he moderately rated as those of an ordinary putter. Therefore, once a fortnight, Bluecap's wages were left for him in a solitary corner of the mine. If they were a farthing below his due, the indignant Bluecap would not pocket a penny. If they were a farthing above his due, he left the surplus revenue where he found it.
Briggs notes that at the time this was written, belief in Bluecaps was already on the wane. But at one point these creatures were a huge part of mining lore. Along with other mining spirits like the Knockers of Cornwall, the Goblins of Wales, the Kobold of Germanic folklore, or even the troublesome Cutty-Soames of Northumberland, the Bluecap was once an accepted part of the mining workforce. But why mines, of all places? If Bluecaps are as helpful as these tales suggest, then why would these protected spirits be tied to the underground rather than the world above? could there be more to their connection with these dark, forgotten places? Mines are places of extremes. Deep darkness, heavy silence, shadowed with mystery and ever-present danger. They're also the hidden arteries of the earth, where miners extract coal, lead and iron from the seams and veins beneath our feet. But these terrible tunnels hold more than just precious minerals. From collapsing walls to hidden gas pockets, miners face threats that could strike in an instant, often with little or no warning at all. The darkness down there has weight, substance, filled with unknown sounds, strange echoes, claustrophobia manifest. And, as we've discovered already in this series, where danger lives, myths are never far behind. Just for a moment, imagine yourself there, working alone in a narrow passage with just the steady rhythm of dripping water and the occasional eerie knock echoing around you. Imagine that suddenly, deep in that labyrinth of dark, twisting tunnels, your lantern begins to sputter and struggle, and then flickers out entirely. In the infinite black, each strange sound, each unsettling shift in the shadows brings with it a new potential horror. Perhaps that crumbling sound of soil hitting the floor came from the first falling fragments of an impending cave-in. Or was that the dreaded hiss of fire damp threatening to blow you sky high? Maybe you're trapped here, in the dark, forever, unable to find your way out. Just then, when all seems lost, and hope has abandoned you, a gentle blue flame appears ahead. It drifts, slowly, silently away, illuminating the walls as it goes. You see now where you are. You find your spare lantern, light it, and, safely reassured, you get back to work. In an environment as oppressive as a mine, it's easy to see how these sorts of myths come about. Miners who, working long hours with only the flicker of a lantern, every sound amplified, every shadow alive, whenever they heard something unusual in the depths, something tapping or moving where no one should be, I can completely understand how they would think it a supernatural phenomenon and would never risk angering it. In such a place, the wall between reality and imagination can thin, and it's easy to see how strange knocks or whispers in the dark might become something else. For miners, these unsettling moments could be transformed by the idea that perhaps these sounds weren't coming from a malevolent entity, but rather a spirit ally at work nearby, warning of danger or showing the way to rich ore. For miners who brave the underground dangers every day, the Bluecap represented just this: safety, security, and a glimmer of hope in the otherwise unyielding darkness. But could there be any basis in reality for the Bluecap legend? Mines, after all, are rich with natural phenomena. Knocking sounds can be caused by gases escaping from the cracks in the rock, and there are minerals and certain species of fungi that glow under UV light. Might these serve as a more rational explanation? We also saw in the episode about the jack-o'-lantern how combinations of certain gases can ignite into ghost lights when mixed together in the right quantities, creating a hovering, flickering blue glow. Yet perhaps the explanation is psychological in part. Miners often spent hours in solitude, hearing knocks, drips, and even the distant echoes of their own voices. Maybe Bluecaps are rooted in the human need for companionship in isolation, a friendly presence conjured from the enveloping dark. Would it not be comforting psychologically to imagine that there was a guardian presence alongside you if you worked in such an environment? Real or not, these spirits provided something very real to the miners who believed in them. A sense of safety and support in a dark and dangerous world. For miners, the Bluecap might have become a way of personifying the mine itself, a way of forming a connection with the unknown spaces and the dangers that lay around them. This is where the Bluecap myth stands a little apart from the crowd. Most famously from Border folklore, the Bluecap appears, nominally at least, to have a Border cousin, known as the Redcap. But are these two related in any way, and how are they different? The question of whether Bluecaps and Redcaps are related is an interesting one, raised by a subscriber in the comments section of my Redcap video. Initially, when looking into this question, I began to get a little excited. After all, both these creatures hail from the same region, the Anglo-Scottish Borderlands. Yet, the creatures could not be more different. While Bluecaps are helpful and protective spirits of the mines, Redcaps are dangerous, malicious goblins, said to haunt the ruins of old castles and towers, places steeped in violence and bloodshed. Legends say that anyone who crosses a Redcap's path will almost certainly never leave its lair alive. So if they're not connected by purpose or behaviour, is there any link at all between them? Sadly, there's nothing at all behind any connection suggested by the similarity of their names. And while it might be satisfying to imagine it, in truth, no traditional tale suggests that Bluecaps and Redcaps ever cross paths. Indeed, in a number of ways, they inhabit entirely different worlds, separated not just by their locations, the Bluecaps' mines against the cursed ruins of the Redcap, but also by their nature and purpose. Where the Redcap stands as a warning against forgotten places tainted by violence, the Bluecap is a hidden guardian of miners toiling away in the deep places of the world. This is precisely what makes these spirits so interesting to me. When you spend much of your free time, as I do, rummaging through old tomes detailing the folkloric creatures of our shared past, it's always surprising to see just how many malevolent and dangerous creatures have sprung from our collective imaginations. I think it's interesting that while Bluecaps are noted to have a capacity for the mischievous, these mine spirits and their cousins are generally viewed as helpful and protective. So why do so many mythical creatures inspire fear, while the Bluecap and other mining spirits bring comfort and guidance? What makes them different? After all, you might expect that in an environment as dangerous as a mine, all sorts of horrendous creatures might be blamed for the terrible things that can happen there. And yet, despite this clear opportunity, the Bluecap represents something else entirely, a spirit bound by respect and shared purpose. I think the explanation is fairly simple. Miners had to work in the mines. They had no choice but to make the descent into the dangerous darkness every day. It simply would not be psychologically possible to do this if you believe the mines are haunted by malevolent entities that are out to kill you. In superstitious times, you choose your superstitions carefully. Imagine the comfort, the relief of knowing that maybe there's someone, or something, looking out for you in those dark, twisting tunnels. If you were out there alone in the cold, colliginous, winding maze, would you rather imagine that evil forces were silently stalking you through the dark, or that you had an unseen ally watching your back, one you could keep on your side with a small offering of food or coin? Easy choice. In this way, the Bluecap became a kind of security, at least psychologically. Indeed, Bluecaps didn't just help miners find safety, they gave the miners a sense of belonging. To those who believed in these spirits, the mine wasn't just a lonely expanse of rock and darkness, but a shared space, an underground world where both human and spirit worked side by side. In a more practical sense, Bluecaps were more than just superstitious habit in those dark tunnels. They were genuine protection, in the sense that they influenced the behaviour of those in the mines. They were the mine personified, and they needed to be respected, just as the dangerous working environment of a deep mine did. In many ways, the Bluecap embodied the miners' respect for their work and their environment. These spirits represent the loyalty, bravery, and resilience of the mining community, the spirit of courage, duty, and of stoic perseverance. By paying the Bluecap, miners were respecting the power of the mine itself, making an ally of the unknown rather than an enemy. The Bluecap reminds us that not all myths are meant to frighten. Some are there to guide us, give us a nudge in the right direction. In the end, the Bluecap is more than just a myth. It's a reflection of how people can transform fear of the unknown into hope. It's also a reminder that, in the darkest of times, it's often not what we face that defines us, but how we face it. After all, what is hope but a small, steady flame in the enveloping dark? Thank you for joining me on this journey into the mythic past of the mining communities of Northern England and Southern Scotland. If you enjoyed this video, it would really help the channel if you click the like button. Remember to subscribe and turn on notifications if you want to see more videos like this coming your way. And if you want to support the channel directly, you can now become a channel member too by clicking the join button. Until next time, keep a wary eye out for the unseen and the unspoken, for the beasts of the old world still roam wild today.